Good morning, boys and girls. It's us again. How jolly and light and wonderful and charming everything is in the world of Tottenham's Hotspurs. I'm with Chris B. We've got Tony V on the way once he's stopped throwing his laptop against the wall. We're all really happy and engaged. And what's the word that they're using in the press at the moment? Unity. That's what we're all about. Unity. So, how unified are you feeling, Chris?
Connected to you and Tony V, connected to the football club and the dross of a professional starting 11, and not at all. What an absolute shower of shit. We lack men, we lack leaders, we lack professional players. And when the going gets tough, seemingly everybody's looking to check out. It's something we've discussed previously, but you're entitled to call people out. It's a professional industry. You've got these clubs charging us fortunes to get through the front doors. We've got players on salaries that many of us can only dream of. And they want applause, they want the praise, and they want everything that comes with that when they're doing well. But when they're not doing well, they need a good, honest look in the mirror. But none of them are prepared to see what's staring back at them. And we hear all this unity. We all hear all this nonsense. We saw God knows how many social media endorsements of we've got to stand together. Well, give us something to be proud of. Give us something to be happy about. Give us something to excite us. And in return, you might get some genuine backing. Until then, you're a bunch of fanjeeters, and we as fans deserve better.
I couldn't agree more. I just going to make something painfully clear before we continue, just in case anybody's in any doubt. I have strong views on everything because that's the way I am. This is not an act. You should see me playing up in Sainsbury's. But we are football fans, but audiences behave differently in this life, okay? And I've been down this road before, so apologies for repeating myself, but some people are a little bit slow on the uptake. So we go to the movies. If the film isn't very good, we tend to get up and go away, go back home again. Famously, I will switch over a film within 15, 20 minutes because if I don't get engaged, I'm out of here. I don't have time to, read a 1,000-page book. Blah blah blah. I need to be drawn into the thing. Here he comes again, like CNN. Ah, look, here he is, the hostage in Kosovo. How are you, sir?
Fuck you.
And in a football match, you want to be entertained? Well, go to the opera, go to Formula One, go to the races, go to a day where you can be entertained. At the football, I'm afraid the boot, the studded shoe, is on the other foot, and your job, your responsibility is to entertain us. We are there to support you, to make noise, but it's a tribal exchange where we go to beat our chests, shout out inappropriate words, and generally watch football. So if you buy fifth-rate players, punts do not come off, and all the other nonsense that football fans have to put up with, you're going to have a strained atmosphere. How can you make it worse? You charge us a couple of £100 for the privilege, including travel, accommodation, and food and drink. So the media, and I went through it yesterday. I produced another one of my great articles, which nobody read, for the .com, and the media, to a man, backed Thomas Frank that the booing was unreasonable. I understand as a motivational technique, booing isn't particularly effective because it is a way of discouraging and being negative. But with the greatest of respect, if a footballer is absolute pants, cheering him on isn't going to make him any better. Just doesn't work. It's like, I don't know, I've never tried knife throwing, with the lady attached to the board that's spinning around. But I bet if you booed because there was blood gushing out of her because I caught her in the side of the head, that wouldn't improve my aim. People have levels of talent, and that's it. So as far as Spurs are concerned, and every other football club, boo some sense into them is my take. Boo away. You've paid your money. You take your choice. And the stuff that's come out in the press, Pedro Porro, Do you know something, mate? I would be fascinated to know what you think if you were better at playing football. So the fact that you're then you and Vicario bullying Lucas Bergville into how he ought to behave on the pitch, a young player, is frankly disgusting, because you have no purchase in the world of bullying or advice giving or whatever the flip it is you think you're doing. You're doing it badly. Leave him alone. I'm seeing all this usual mealy-mouthed toss coming out about they're all going to walk off the pitch together and they're going to do the group huddle. And guess what? Nobody cares. Be better footballers. And if you've been brought in to a job which is way above your skill set, then I humbly suggest you go and knock on the door at Bristol Rovers or Colchester United, where you can blend in and be less niggled by the public and the shortchanged public who are hemorrhaging cash to go to football to support the industry. Listen, it's all very well and good, the press saying, Frank's right, it's disgusting. Well, guess what? That ties in with the whole woke thing, the whole be nice thing, which again is another form of bullying and control. I was actually in a store. It's one of those rubbish like Poundland things, and it said, "Good afternoon, customers. Just reminding you to be respectful to our staff." I immediately started thinking, yeah, I could punch somebody in the throat here. The staff are rubbish. That's the way my mind works. Don't tell me to be a nice person. My default setting is I'm charm incarnate. But stupidity cannot be indulged. It just simply cannot. But people are paying through the eyeballs to go to games, and then you're telling them how they have to behave. No, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that for many people, because fans like to boo because of the pantomime and, as I say, the primordial tribal nature of football. And you're trying to sanitize it and tell us what we can do and what we can't do. And it will go the same way as all that Black Lives Matter stuff, all the kneeling, all the rainbow laces. They've all gone. They've all gone. You wanted it. You voted for it. You told us how inclusive and right it was. And it's all gone because it doesn't stand up to a scrap of scrutiny. So there will be booing. There'll be more booing. Improve the product, or it will collapse. And Sky Sports collapsing across Northern Europe. Capcom have never had so many people unsubscribing. So that's the way the cookie crumbles. Not everybody's being nice and writing checks. Nope, it's not going to happen. You need to make the product better and stop telling people what to do. You're patronising us. What do you think, Tony?
Here. Is what I think.
Thanks very much, everybody, and we'll see you again tomorrow with another episode of.
It's laughable that these players who live in probably the most cosseted bubbles you can possibly imagine in the world, save for presidents and God knows what, they're sitting there telling the ordinary folk how they should behave and how they should. I'll support the team. I'll support the team until the cows come home, if they actually start playing properly. I mean, you've got Vicario making errors that 7-year-olds wouldn't make. You've got Porro, who I think after the 15th ball got crossed and it got headed away, you'd think, I'll tell you what, let's try something different. Let's use our brain a little bit. But no. That sort of thing just doesn't enter into the equation. Let's just keep doing the same thing over and over again. You know, the definition of insanity. Repeating the same mistake, expecting a different result. These players, they need to understand they're on hundreds of thousands of pounds a week, more than most people earn in a year, and yet they're telling us how we should behave. And we're also paying for the privilege. Say we, as a collective we, in some fashion, we are all paying for them to be there. So do your job and do it well. It's that simple. If you do your job and you do it well, even if you lose, no one's necessarily going to complain. We won't be necessarily happy about it. But if you give it all and you've just got beaten by a better team, that's life, baby. That's just the way it goes. And nobody would criticize that. If anything, the person who would get it all right in the neck would be the manager, because saying, well, actually, you should be probably getting even more out of them. But it's just like everybody's doing a collective, oh, you shouldn't shout at us. Well, guess what? Screw you. That's my attitude.
No, I think you're right, and I think it is every man for himself, and people will make their own minds up. Yes, in an ideal world, it would be. I mean, look, I saw an article this morning on my phone on Facebook for a pub that's opening in somewhere in the West Midlands, and wow, just wow, the guy says the pub is going to be known for its inclusivity. Wow, that's a great. Yeah, everyone's failing. Everyone's failing. Times are tough. Industry's bad. We're putting up the business rates, but we're going to be known for. I'd really like to be known for serving a great pint and for having a fantastic atmosphere and having staff who were excellent. But no, we're gonna let everybody in with a big smile on our face.
If you produce a great product, if you produce a great product, people, if it's the field of dreams, isn't it? If you build it, they will come.
Yeah. I mean, I've been looking through CVs, of course, and don't worry, that guy that said, "Oh, it's all about plugging your own pub." Well, do you know, I'm talking about life, and if you don't have one, mate, I can't help you. Looking through CVs. The average time spent looking through a CV is about 15 to 30 seconds, just for those of you joining us late. I know lots of you don't like CVs because that's reality and that's truth. But you're looking for good things and you're also getting massive red flags. So when people are doing stuff where they're involved in bits of activism and stuff like that, I don't want to see it. I want to see that you're brilliant at the job you've applied for. There's some real things there that are exciting my mind and going, oh, I can see her doing this fantastic, opposed to me looking at it and going, and who's she going to complain about after she's been here a week? Will it be me? Will it be somebody else's turn? Because it appears this piece of paper is telling me that she's very busy. And the world, unfortunately, is not a very nice place right now. And this is because of these stupid people trying to rewrite the way that humans interact. So, yeah, I mean, the footballers they're totally indulged. And we are going down this be nice route. I'm not going to lecture you on that, but we know that doesn't work. We know of the awful things that have happened to people clinging onto those words. This football club, it's and there are people, I mean, on the forums, and they go, well, the bookmakers are saying that. So you're talking about prospective new managers. We've got a manager with a decent enough CV with our backing should be getting the results. He isn't because of the junk we've got on our books. And you say to people, we finished 17th and we only lost 22 games last season. And it's like you're speaking to them in Swahili.
Even worse is that there's people out there still saying we should have kept Ange.
Well, don't forget that there will be turkeys voting for Christmas very shortly.
Yeah.
You know, the chickens from KFC movement is gaining traction, as they say.
You look at the unfortunate performance on Saturday, and you've got a goalkeeper who's played 5 times for Italy, who's incapable of doing the basics. When he came out of his box, he had more than enough opportunity to put that into row Z, but he kept on plodding, and then he does what he always does, and this is my biggest frustration. When we concede, his arms are waffling around in the air. It's everybody's problem but his own. No, take a look at yourself, fella. You're the goalkeeper. You're the last line of defence. You played everybody into trouble there. Yeah, you can ask questions. Why Danso and Porro weren't making their way back to the line, but ultimately you could have prevented that. And then secondly, Porro gives it large about us proper fans. And let's not forget that Thomas Frank also got in on that scene in his post-match press conference. We'll come on to that. But Porro's shite. He's absolutely rubbish. He was bought as a right wing back. I remember the day he made his debut. He got torn inside out, and Sherwood was doing Gillette Soccer Saturday. I said, this bloke's all over the place. He's not good enough. But as Tottenham fans, we like to forget the honest truths. We like to cover our players with a big fluffy rug and tell everybody they're world beaters, they're exceptional. They go, the bloke can't defend. Play him at right back, people pick on him. Play him at right wing back, people pick on him. How many decent crosses does he put into the box once every while? Where's the relationship with Kudus? It's invisible. He is absolutely pony. And if he wants to, do you know what all he's doing is getting the crowd on his back? I'll tell you now, when I go on Brentford on Saturday, he's going to get more than one boo just because he's now officially in the CUNT bucket. And if you don't like honest feedback, professional football's not for you, because it's all about winning. And we've got a lack of winners on the pitch. Then they brought on Bentancur in the second half. Well, surprise, surprise, everything was backwards and sideways. We've spoken about this before and we'll speak about it again, but we've assembled a pot of junk, a pot of rubbish. In the old days, you had Man United chasing for Berbatov. You had every club in the world, arguably, chasing for Bale. You had clubs coming in for Michael Carricks. You had people coming in to take Modric's off your hands. You had a handful of players that people were interested in. You look at the club now, who would anybody want? Nobody at all. And even Van der Ven, who we pin our hopes on, yeah, he's good, but he's not world class. Romero absolutely stinks the house out. We're having all these problems at centre-back. Then we've got this young lad, Vuskovic, out on loan in the Bundesliga, and he's getting reviews coming home every week, seemingly. Anybody with anything about him would say, look, enough's enough. Recall him in the January window. Give him first team minutes, because our current shower of shit stink the house out, and there's no way you can polish a turd and get a number out of them. They are useless, full stop.
I could write a book. I could write a book that nobody would want to read, identifying the symmetry between the craziness of society and football. And this is where they're going to have a problem. This whole be nice thing, this whole, you've got to show me respect. This DEI craziness and this fuzzy way of thinking, this idealistic luxury belief nonsense. Football is the meritocracy of sports. It's probably only out elited by golf or tennis, because you've got the one man out there, or one person, one pregnant person, as the BBC might want to call them, and you need to just lay off. All of this stuff collapses. All of it collapses. Stonewall has failed. They're getting thrown out of corporations across the UK. It doesn't work. It's not me professing an opinion here. Do some research. This junk, this craziness doesn't work. It is a mind virus, and you should be able to say to your children, you've got to be better at this if you want to make a living out of it, or choose another job. I mean, I tried doing some tiling the other week. Some of them were straight. Some of them were straight. You cannot involve yourself in stuff that you're not excellent at. Sure, you can do what you want as a hobby, but
this is what happens about football at age, isn't it? Because of this ridiculous bubble that footballers live in, and the whole of football as a whole, especially at the top level, live in. If you get down to the sort of like the real grassroots, it is a real scrap. But if you get into the where we're talking about now, the Premier League, it's probably the only profession where you get paid and rewarded for being absolute pony, and they've got absolutely no the employer has no comeback on you whatsoever. You can get left out of the team, never play for the team again, but you get paid for all of that contract.
The worst thing as well, even worse, is the fact that you've got a fan base, and I'm going to bring them in kicking and screaming again. Oh, he's always so horrible. But we've still got people in the support who didn't really think much of Michael Carrick, didn't really understand him, didn't really think Luka Modric was that good because he didn't score many goals. Carrick went on to under Sir Alex to be one of the pivotal players at Manchester United for decades, and Luka Modric's career is still ticking away, and he's won everything under the sun. And it's people who don't understand the game that make the most compelling, stupid commentary, and it's this is what we're up against. And then, as I say, you've got the media, the broadcasters telling us that it isn't nice to boo. I give up. I absolutely give up.
Whose opinion would you take, H? Whose opinion would you take? Honestly, at the end of the day, those types of people, or Alex Ferguson, or the people at Barcelona or Real Madrid who came after all the players, etc., etc.
Yeah, you've answered that question by saying, what would you rather listen to, reality or a stupid person? And that's the upshot. I mean, we've got people out there, and I understand Thomas Frank isn't the best manager in the world at Spurs, and I understand he's made colossal mistakes, in my view. I mean, this business of calling out the fans and talking about true fans, I got angry in a world record qualifying time when I heard that. Because I won't be patronised and told. I mean, if you go into Waitrose and you put your shopping up and the woman on the till goes, what are you buying that for? Fuck off, beep, and put it in the bag. Don't look down your nose and score me. This won't end well. Do your job and be part of the meritocracy. Be part of the people that can do things well, no matter what you're doing, whether you're an airline pilot or you're working on the tills in the supermarket. Just get the bloody job done and let see your lip.
Do you know what really strikes me about this?
Stupid people scoring us out of 10.
But then you look at the players. You talk about the people around it, but then you look at the players, and what you look for is winners, game changers. You look for people with footballing intelligence who can actually read the game, who understand what's going on, and if necessary, makes on-field decisions wherever possible to say, look, this isn't working. We've got to push up slightly here. We've got to do this here. We've got to do that there. No, there's literally nobody. There isn't a leader amongst that lot. The only people they lead in is, as Chris has oft said, the only thing they actually lead in is sitting down to go to the toilet. It's just ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous.
Lucas Bergwall is an interesting footballer. He's very much at the beginning of his career path, blah, blah, blah. But he's being bullied.
Yeah.
Vicario, Porro are nobodies.
You mean the leadership teams bullying their own junior players, not trying to get the best out?
And I tell you something. I will always say how I see it. Because one of them is an Italian and one of them is he Portuguese? Porro he is, isn't he? I think.
Yeah.
But because Spanish, whatever. But we can't get HR involved. The optics won't be very good on that, will they? I mean, after all, Lucas Bergwall is a bit white. Can't be giving him a fair rub. This is the two-tier nonsense is even in football. It's clearly bullying. The guy is saying, I'm going to do something nice to the crowd, be it apologetic or whatever it is after a poor performance, which he's been part of, and he's being screamed at again. And he's getting screamed at by Vicario, who makes the mistakes that lead to goal.
You know why? It's because what Bergwall is doing is recognizing the fact that he is accountable, and is saying, I recognise what you've done for us. I am accountable. We will try and do better. The rest of them going, it's not our problem. It's your fault. Exactly. Which is like I say, it's like, as I said in my moniker, it's all our fault. No, it's not. Guess what? You're the ones on the pitch. You're the ones who are paid to play football. Do your jobs.
I'm absolutely sick of all of them.
Yeah, 100%. Not one of them. Back in the old days, you always used to have a favourite player, like a Gareth Bale or a Van der Ven or a Modric or a Clive Allen or a Hoddle or Waddle, or somebody would get you out your seat and excite you and you could relate. You look forward to watching that player. You go to Tottenham now and you think there's no connection with any of them. Any of them were injured or sold. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. We've just inherited rubbish. And the ghost of Daniel Levy lives large in our football club. And let's not forget, let's be very real, what was one of Daniel Levy's last acts, and it was to appoint Thomas Frank. And I have real concerns at the moment about that guy. I hope to be proven wrong. I hope he is here for the long term, But at the moment, fundamentally, the bloke doesn't know his best starting 11. He doesn't know his best starting formation. And Xavi Simons might not be the player. He could be a Brian Hill, the second, lightweight and too weak. Needs to get himself in the gym, get some special Chrissy B sauce down his throat. But we need to be trying to give him time. We need to try and get him in that number 10 role. He needs minutes. At the moment, I just can't work it out. Like Papa Matasar started the season on fire, had a slight injury, but then was left out the team for ages. And then the constant rotation of different options at fullbacks, it's not working. You need to stick with a solid 11, allow them to get minutes and understanding together. I just can't work this guy out.
I think, in truth, and I have to preface all these remarks with I don't know, but I suspect that Thomas Frank is having the same problems that all the other coaches we've had in the last decade have had, because that, to me, is what's my best starting 11, what's the best tactic to employ, because none of these guys are new, I mean, I do stand by the fact that most coaches have a template. Mm-hmm. And fans go, no, mate, no. You get paid the big money. You fix it so it works. It doesn't work like that. If you know anything about football, it doesn't work like that. And they're quick enough to say, oh, it's Mourinho ball. I want to kill myself. They're quick enough to tell you this. But most coaches have a template, and they find something which works for them, works for the game. And then it'll work. You could break it down but the subsets into it will work at a certain level, like Ange Postecoglou. Nothing against the guy personally until I had to suffer him as a football fan, as the manager of my team. But what he did worked very well in Japan, worked very well in Scotland. Under the glaring spotlight, the searchlight of the Premier League, it all fell to pieces. And if you've got any further questions about Ange, go and talk to a Nottingham Forest fan. Mm-hmm. They will tell you very quickly, using much unkinder words than mine, what a desperately out of his depth character he was in this division. And you can't have it both ways. You can't say it's a tough division. Isn't it brilliant? We live in this country, blah, blah, blah. And then, why can't you get a tune out of this load of old junk?
Well, it's funny you say that, actually, because exactly that was just going to be my point as well. And I totally understand where you're coming from, Chris. Like I said on the chat, I think he's probably got 2 or 3 games, potentially to save his job, which I don't agree with, because I personally think he should stick around and they should give him 2 or 3 transfer windows. But it's it's business. You are right.
Are you absolutely convinced, though, that this is the guy that's going to play attacking, entertaining football?
Not with these players, you won't. How can he?
Exactly. Yeah, I say that's the thing.
What are his footballing philosophies? That's all I'm asking.
I'll tell you what, Chris. This is a dead Duracell battery. I'm going to pop this in the post, and I'd like to see you stepping foot on Mars next week. Okay?
That's not the question I'm asking. You're diverting away. I'm saying, has this man...
I nearly got away with it too, if it wasn't for you best kids.
philosophies. And I'm not. This isn't being discourteous to him, but there is a massive difference between managing Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, because of the size of the club and the expectation, to managing Brentford, where, again, not being nasty, but the levels for expectation of Brentford are just to keep them in the league initially.
But they did play really good football there, and they played attacking football there, Chris, because he had the right people playing the system that he wanted to play. He's come here now and gone, oh yeah, they're not as good as I thought they were. And the truth be told, Chris, we won't know whether he's that man until he's had probably a couple of transfer windows to get some decent players in to replace the dross. You said it yourself on this very program. They're all dross. Nobody would sign any of them. Then how do we expect Thomas Frank to get a tune out of them?
The other thing as well is, I would say,
you can't down tools and say and just say I'm going to give up for the season.
No. But then again, you've got to allow him the opportunity to have the time to be able to again get in players who can actually then be better.
But that's a romantic notion, isn't it? As we would live in a performance-related business, and it's a multi-billion-pound industry. We would like that as fans, but
look at
businessmen. They're not going to give him time.
Yeah, but look at Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe had similar problems. He went to Newcastle. It took him ages before he won his trophy, and they had seasons where they were pretty poor. Arteta, when he first came at Arsenal, yes, he won the FA Cup very quickly, but that wasn't his team. That was a legacy team. He then didn't do anything for God knows how long, and now look where he is now because the club has stayed with him. They've invested in the players, and gradually, slowly but surely, those types of like Newcastle with Eddie Howe and with Arteta have got better and better and better and better. You can't just expect to go in there and go, right, we'll have one transfer window, bang, everybody's magically better, and so all of a sudden we're winning everything. It takes time. I don't disagree with the point you're making that it's a results business, but other clubs have said, yes, we know it's a results business, but we also know that it takes time to generate the sort of squad that you need in order to be able to generate the results to be competitive. If we keep doing the same thing over and over again, we're going to just keep repeating the same mistakes.
If it's a results-based business, as you say, Chris, then why aren't you referencing Thomas Frank's record against Arsenal at Brentford?
That's just a small microscope section that works well for the narrative you're trying to put here, H. I'm looking at it with a wider lens, and you're very naughty. You're very naughty at times, but Frank's not doing himself any favors at all with his terrible PR.
No, I think he's bungled. I think he's bungled this absolutely, and I don't think he's read the room. I don't think he understands how the backlash is coming.
I paid £2,400 a year for my season ticket, and the South Stand has already turned on this bloke big style. And I looked at it. In the last 12 months, I've watched 3 wins in 12 months, calendar months of football. So that's effectively costing me nearly 7-14-2-8. It's nearly cost me about £550 per win that I've seen at the Tottenham Stadium.
And Chris, you have every right to be absolutely chuffed off to the end of the earth.
I go on Saturday night. I go on Saturday night at 8 o'clock kickoff. By the time I get back to Seven Sisters, it's 11 o'clock. Then I've got to get from Seven Sisters to Finsbury Park. I get in at half midnight. It's pissed itself down. I've been served up a load of steaming shit. And you think, why do I bother? The stadium was 5,000 voices beneath what it usually was. People are checking out, and people have every right to be critical of what they're seeing in front of them.
I think it's hilarious that you describe your journey to the stadium, the lack of whatever, getting home, rain, tired, blah, blah, blah. You got to be up in the morning, and then you're told that you're not a true fan.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about not reading the bloody room.
Yeah, and this is what really pulls my chains. And an example on Saturday, Fulham weren't the best team in the world. They're a team that have been hovering just above the relegation zone. But they came to Tottenham, and it was all too easy for us. We set a record going 2 down within 6 minutes. But who was that bloke who played left back for Fulham? He looked pretty good. What was his name? Ryan Sessegnon. Oh, yeah. There's a story there. But we pamper these players. They've got the Tottenham Hotspur 5-star lodge where life is too easy for them. And everything in the club is wrong at the moment. We need to hit the factory reset button, and it starts and finishes. Before the game, sitting there watching the warm-up drills. So you've got Justin Cochran, the coach, practicing dead balls in. They have all the players lined up in a formation. Kinski is the goalkeeper doing those drills. So you've got Vicario as our first choice keeper, nowhere involved in the warm-up drills. Where does that feature on basic coaching fundamentals?
Well, this is more of the same. This is more of the sideshow. And I think that it was a colossal mistake, and it's going to come back to me doing my usual Sergeant Major scream at them and pin them to the wall with the hot air. But the idea that the players, they're so rewarded in life, and there's no envy on my part here. I mean, I'm not sitting in squalor. There's no envy at all, but they are so pampered, and then their day-to-day existence in the training thing is a 5-star hotel. Whose stupid idea was that?
Yeah,
that should be a place. It's like when you go to a gym, right? It's nice if you get a gym and you go to the thing and you've got good facilities and all the rest of it. But the actual machines it needs to be a work environment. It needs to be a place where your mind is fixed on lifting and pulling and doing whatever the thing is. It's when you get to the cafe, you like a nice plump chair to sit in and all the rest of it. And I just think that the Hotspur way, I mean, it looks great on the brochures, but this was a Daniel Levy vanity project about, we're going to have this fabulous world-beating UEFA standard, blah, blah, blah. And I think they built something which is just, I think it's just impractical. And I think it sends out the wrong message. I really do. I mean, look, I'm going to mention the pub because it's stuff that's dominating my wretched life at the moment. But we're doing certain things because we want to send out the right messages and do the right thing by people. So, for example, and this isn't world beating or anything, but in the toilets, it's pretty rough in terms of we've got like tour posters and all this all over the walls and the ceiling. But the actual sinks and furnishing and fittings, state-of-the-art hand drying bits and pieces, and in the women's bathroom, there's free sanitary products because that's something that you should do. You don't just need to have things in a vending machine. But you have to temper the idea. So you offer luxury, but you get the message across. And I just think they've got a lot of things wrong at Tottenham. And I always bang on about the LinkedIn hires. I think all of this stuff is just pish and wind. We've heard it all before. I want action through deeds.
Well, guess what? If you pay quality money, generally speaking, you get quality players. Now, a lot of people would have said, Levy spent this amount of money on this, that, and the other. No, because I'm like, and we're not going back to Ange to sort of like highlight what's been going wrong here, because all what's going wrong at the moment is under Thomas Frank's watch. So let's not. I'm not saying that, but apparently something like 350 million was spent under Ange's tenure with Levy in charge, because Levy was the last chairman there, basically. And we can go back to the historic record of what money he has spent. Yes, they've spent a lot of money, but it's all been on crap. It's just been all on utter crap. So you can say, but the thing is, look at what he spent and how he spent it. Because one of the things that we've often mentioned is about the payment terms and things of this nature. How he's then putting them on substandard. Spurs' wage bill, when you compare it to in the Premier League and to the top six, it's nowhere near as competitive as the top six. So guess what? If you pay peanuts, you get monkeys.
Correct. Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. And I'm going to go one further, and I'm going to say, is there, because we now know that in the world of business, that a business isn't just like how many hamburgers do you sell. It most certainly definitely is a question of how diverse is your boardroom. How many women have you got in senior positions? How many people of mixed ethnicity do you have in senior positions? And this isn't me representing the Ku Klux Klan here. This is how the things work. And this is how you travel up the Deloitte Money League. It isn't just how many burgers you sell. It's about the shape and the culture of your business, what the optics are like. And I genuinely wonder, given the success that we've had with Sonny and blah, 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 I'm not bringing into this from the respect of, but are all the decisions made about who we buy based upon the merit of the player? Is it all about hiring the guy who might put in the best cross? Or are we saying, we haven't got any Swedish people? That would be wonderful. Let's get a little Swede in.
There's no question in my mind. Sonny was a brilliant player, absolutely brilliant for us, no question at all. But the last few years he was here was more an exercise in marketing than it was him being a brilliant player.
100%.
That is,
but we never replaced him, did we?
No, exactly.
So we've never replaced Kane, we've never replaced Son, and surprise, what we were expecting was going to happen. And you go back through the DNA of this club over recent years, and there's one consistent theme: Daniel Philip Levy.
Yeah,
the man. And do you know what? I'd rather sit in the old White Hart Lane where it's a proper football ground with a proper atmosphere and proper players than the artificial pompous nonsense that we've got today, which was designed as a multi-purpose sports entertainment, banqueting and conference facility. But Lady Gaga likes it, so that's who's winning.
I was, as you know, I was at Villa the other night, and I was fortunate enough to have a corporate thing. And it was very interesting to see first of all, it was packed full of press type people, but it was interesting to see who made up the actual fans. I mean, people who were football fans, and they stuck out like sore thumbs. Yeah. They are not part of the 21st century.
Was it the skin fades, the Stone Island jackets, and the jeans that gave it away?
No, it was people who they enjoyed the win but didn't think it was historic. They were people who had been round the block, people who were there for the football, people who were there because, yes, were able to dine at that level because they'd got enough money in the bank and they were comfortable spending it. So they got a nice starter and a nice main and a nice pud. But quite frankly, they probably wouldn't have curled up and turned into a piece of coal if they were offered a pie at half time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just saying, the way the game has gone, the faceless, generic, oh, yeah, I've got a box at Villa this weekend. Those people are not very nice people to be around. They're not very interesting. You're not going to hold a conversation with them. They're LinkedIn hires. And they're white-collar workers and they're middle management scumbags, to be blunt. And that's the way football's gone. So all of this stuff appeals to them. All of the way that Spurs is marketed appeals to them. Like I said to you, on those airbrushed architectural imaginings of how this new Brave New World was going to look, there weren't any blokes, big fat blokes with short hair, flat noses, and big imported Italian designer coats on, because those are anathema. They don't want that sort of profile of customer. They want a guy who runs the mortgage desk at Santander. That's who they want coming through the door.
Well, what to me is interesting as well is this narrative that previously, like when you're talking about Thomas Frank and you're talking about managers, etc. You know, everybody's, historically the people have moaned about the style of football under Mourinho. Oh, and he never won anything. Well, hold on, he never got an opportunity to win anything because our beloved ex-leader decided that his ego was more important than actually winning something.
What, sacking him a week before a cup final?
Exactement.
I'll bring him to heel.
yeah, exactly. And that's and Tony Conte telling it like it is, that there's a culture of not wanting to win. Now, again, if we'd have stuck with him and if we'd have done what we needed to do, we potentially could have won something. Yes, the football may not have been pretty. It might have been a bit more pragmatic, but serial winners couldn't achieve things at this club. So, I also agree what you say, Chris. It's a results-driven business. So I'm not arguing that point at all. But if serial winners come to this club and can't win anything, why are we expecting Thomas Frank to be any different?
Yeah, I mean that's the question I raise. Because it's not a pro Frank comment; it's a pro contrast comment. And Frank and Tony have got CVs to die for. I don't care about anybody's opinion. The CVs make those men stand alone, stand apart. And now we're saying, well, why can't Thomas Frank do better than them? I've got a headache with that. I can't compute it.
And their squads are just arguably just as good as what Frank is working with now, if not better. But again, and then also going back to this other point is we know we got absolute dross in there. How many? And we've mentioned this often before, haven't we? How many of those players that we have purchased over the last 3 or 4 seasons were we in competition with other clubs against to prize them from the jaws of other successful clubs?
None.
Fingers of one hand, isn't it? Fingers of one hand, totally, isn't it?
2%. And anybody we have gone up against a rival for has picked the rival.
Yeah, and our scouting's been pretty piss poor. You look at Sunderland as a reflection. doing really well for themselves in the Premiership, bought in some really good players, not wasted the junk money that we have on junk. And I'm not sure where we go here, because I'm going to have to personally drop him 5. But
No problem, mate.
But it's only going to get worse. And you can expect on Saturday against Brentford, if we get tonked by Newcastle on Tuesday night, we don't do well at St James's Park. We all know that. And anybody who saw Newcastle beat Everton on Saturday evening, they had a good game. And then we've got Brentford at home next Saturday. Brentford have got nothing to lose in that game, everything to win. 2 more defeats, and there's going to be plenty more boos. And what do you think, what sort of receptions Porro go get? And that's all for his own doing. You do not alienate those people that pay your salaries. So the stadium's atmosphere could become very toxic. You only have to have a look on social media after the game, how the crowd currently feels. And those in the high towers within the football club really need to realise this is a serious matter, and it's make or break, and we've got to address it and deal with it. Because if we allow it to become an uncontrollable fire, this is going to push back onto the pitch, and we could find ourselves plummeting towards a relegation battle very easily.
It's funny you mention relegation, because last season, I mean, we've only added 1 player, Mohamed Kudus, who appears to have been sucked into the abyss. But last season we finished 17th.
And that is obviously relevant, but we've got to get ourselves away from the repeated murmurings of Ange. She's this news. Let's focus on the future.
Well, the thing is, Chris, I agree with you about the club has got to fix this. Because I'm all in favour of a siege mentality, because a siege mentality can be very good, because you just focus out the outside noise and you just you say, right, it's them, it's us against the world. And that can have a very, very positive effect within the confines of a team and what have you. The likes of Mourinho has always lived by that sort of kind of thing. It's us against the world, which is great. But that normally involves the fans too. It's like the club as a whole. We as a club, including the fans, we have this siege mentality. It's us against the world. When it's the players against everybody else, that's not a siege mentality anymore. That's a failure to communicate.
Yeah.
That's a cry for help.
Yeah,
being told what the press office are telling you about how they're going to huddle and how they're going to come on and off the pitch, that's too much information.
Yeah,
I don't give a shit about the pre-match huddle. Do your talking in the dressing room. Get out there, play some fucking football.
And don't give me the theatrics of a man who we know is incapable of holding a conversation in English, in an English-speaking country, in an English league, and tell me that he's giving direction to people bent over in this little group thing. I'm not, how stupid do they think we are? Oh, no, sorry, I'm not a true fan, I forgot.
And anybody from the outside looking in from a player perspective is thinking, why do I want to join this shower of shit in January? Thanks, but no thanks. So
the mental frailty, the culture of a business comes from the boardroom. It comes from the very top. I've said it 1,000 times that the face of a business, the culture of business, does not come from the lads in the loading bay. It comes from the boardroom. And if this is what it's going to look like under the Lewis family, then it's, say goodbye to the old boss, hello to the new boss. It's the same bloody people, the same.
What's it?
Navy
what's the phrase, H? Is it plus a change, plus of them shows, isn't it?
Correct. That is your actual French. That is your actual French.
But what really needs to happen here, H? What really needs to happen here, and this is quite revolutionary, I know, for Tottenham Hotspur.
We're not going back to Christie's suicide vest, are we?
No, we're not. No. But what really needs to happen here is the board, Vinay or whoever, or Peter Charrington, whoever it is these days, because God knows who else is running the club, or even the Lewis's family themselves, come out and says, Thomas Frank is our man. We're going to see him through thick and thin. He's going to get at least 3 transfer windows. You're stuck with him, peeps. This is what's going to happen for a while. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Deal with that. Deal with that reality. We're going to back the manager. We're going to get the players wherever we possibly can. Yeah, we're not always going to get every single target, but we're going to go out there and seriously start to do a statement of intent. Because at the moment, the silence from from the ivory towers is deafening.
I agree with you, and I think that they put out that statement about the 100 million as if we're all daft and we think it's 1982, and 100 million is gonna shake it up because we'll be able to get in 6 good players. We'll be lucky to get 1 good player with that money. And that's the way the world is. That's the gig they're in. And they keep on giving us these sorts of sustainable doses of endorphin with saying, oh, we've just hired Cadbury's as our tooth rot partner. We've just hired Dulux as our, buckets of ink partner. You've got to go out and buy decent footballers. And then everything else will fall into place. You won't have to try hard. You won't have to negotiate. You'll get a sponsor come in. They'll sit down and say, we want to be part of this football club. Great. It'll cost you £1 million.
Yeah. Do you know who else does that, though, H?
10p a bag? £1 million. Okay, I'll sign.
Do you know who else does that, though? Gives that these little sustainable nuggets that keeps people interested?
Yeah.
Alistair Gold.
Crack dealers.
Yes. Yeah, well, there you go. And don't forget, as I've said before, the press are very much part of the problem because they don't tell us the truth. And they highlight stuff which is clickbait and, oh, no, he's doing it again. He's being horrible. That industry's collapsed. Don't talk about AI. It's collapsed because the product isn't good enough.
Guys, I'm going to have to
out garbage. Are you off to the airport?
Well, yeah, I'm off to Heathrow. I was going to do one live from there and sit next to the jangliest cutlery collector because I know how much people loved it. Or I was going to play my spoons, but I'll resist that. And
okay, well, where are you heading? Can you tell us? The government allowed you to tell us where you're off to?
Philadelphia.
Wow. And what ridiculous things are you going to buy there, Chris?
Well, you will discover on Christmas morning.
Are you going to come back with a jazz band or something? What's the deal?
There'll be presents for you, Tone, and your new pub. Then you will be appreciative of them all.
Are you going to the city of brotherly love, Chris? Are you going to the city of brotherly love?
You know what I'm doing here?
You're going to come back with AIDS.
You know what I'm doing here? I'm taking the Pedro Porro approach, and I'm telling you should be very grateful for our friendship and what I'm going to give to you.
Oh,
I don't want AIDS.
I'm not sure I want that sort of deposit.
If he's having Mason sauce, he can have Chrissy B's and not complain about it.
What did you get for Christmas? A lesion.
I'll leave you two fine gentlemen to discuss the Newcastle game. What could possibly go wrong? Will it be Vicario's last stand, as we saw from Hugo all those years ago? And
will Vicario refuse to come out for the second half? Is the question.
Well, many would hope so. Anyway,
I want him to refuse to come out for the first half, please. That helps.
Keep it real, homeboys.
Happy trails.
Safe journey.
Don't forget to wrap up.
I thought you were going to say double bag. Right.
Well, that was kind of what I was intimating. Yes.
Speak to you later.
Have a good one, mate.
So, Tony, Newcastle away at Newcastle in the northeast.
Well, our away form has been better than our home form. That's the only crumb of comfort I can offer in the matter.
That's pretty noble of you.
I know. It's just, I'm the eternal optimist. Whereas yourself, people may say you're a pessimist, but others may call it realism. So that's one thing we have got going for us.
Well, let's have a look at the odds, and I'm just seeing here. Oh dear! Right, Spurs are as we sit and stand 5-1. Actually, have I got the odds? No, put them in it. Sorry, it's not that bad. I had the decimal odds, not the fractional odds. So Spurs are 4-1, and Newcastle are in at 3-4 on. And in fact, you can get 3-1, 4-1 on the draw. So the bookies think that we're going to have our trousers pulled down and our pinky pulled.
Yep, I think that's a fairly fair assessment. Can't argue with that. Can't argue with that. I'm not expecting us to go there and do one. It will be great. I think we said this before though. I have no problem with us as much as we I want us to win every single game. Of course I do.
Mm.
That's just as you've oft said, that's the default position of any Spurs fan. Is you want them to win every single game. Of course you do, but you're also realistic enough to know that that's not always going to happen. But what
Correct.
you expect them to do is go there and actually give it a darn good go. And if you're going to go down fighting.
Yeah.
This lot couldn't fight its way out of a paper bag. It's
No,
just
and
it's
they don't
pathetic.
it's funny because they only get riled, and it's funny because the names change, but the mentality stays the same, which is very troubling. And as I say, that's not the guys in the loading bay; that's the boardroom talking. But they only get the niggle when they're not being loved. And
Yeah.
you were one of the few people who called it. You were absolutely one of the very few that called it. That all of the "we'll miss you, you take care," it's been emotional stuff towards Ange, was all about riding on the back of that endorphin thing, of the happy buzz from fans going, "Oh, what a lovely guy Romero is." It's cashing in on the feel-good factor. And the moment you turn that off and they start getting thumbs down opposed to thumbs up, they get arsey. And they don't have that character, that spine, as you say, again, real leaders on the park mentality that is there, that winning mentality, that fighting mentality. No. That when it comes to it, when the love is turned off, then they become hurt and aggressive and a bit wounded.
Well, mate,
Don't you know who
funny.
I am?
Your best friend is your best friend until he goes and fucks your missus.
Yeah.
He's not your best friend anymore after that, surprisingly enough.
Well, unless you're Chris.
Well, yeah, of course. Then actually you say, congratulations, sir.
Thanks for giving me a handout.
yeah. I got the night off, mate.
Yeah. But no, I think you're right, and but it is that fragile mentality that we have to deal with, and it sounds, because we've been wheeling that phrase out for a number of decades, it sounds like, well, hang on, this is just noise. You're not relating to the specific players, but the idea that Pedro Porro is screaming across the park at Lucas Bergvall with a non-football related issue. I mean, where was he screaming at him when the ball was in play?
Well,
I must have missed that bit.
Well, the thing with Vicario after and let's give Harry Wilson some credit there, because he was screaming for that ball the moment that Vicario did what he did.
Yeah.
He was screaming because he knew exactly what he was going to do. And boy, did he finish it well. I mean, you can screw it up right royally from where he was, but it was absolutely perfect. And fair play to the guy. Even I said, when Mrs. was sitting there, go, "Cool, that's a cracking goal."
Yeah.
It should never have happened, but the bloke took it brilliantly. So fair play to him for that one. But the first thing that Vicario does when that goes in, he turns around and, as Chris said, waves and flaps his arms at everybody else, as if to say, "Well, what the fuck has that got to do with anybody else? That was all on you, fella. Rose Z was where it needed to go, and you didn't put it there. You created that, and you caused that." And then the fans boo, quite rightly, because he was directly responsible. There's no other person on that field of play that was responsible for that goal. Yes, I know there's people who said, well, such and such could have got back on the goal line, etc. That's such an extraordinary circumstance. It's almost like people got shocked into believing how bloody awful that was.
The thing is as well, you've got to bear in mind, because we start talking about these things in a sort of almost abstract sense, but I mean, these people assembled at Tottenham to watch the game. They have come with love in their pockets. They've come to get behind the team. Their default setting is that they come on you Spurs. They want you to win. They're not turning up like the judges at Crufts. They're not inscrutable. They're looking to be won over. But when they're having to watch inept football, their patience is going to be tested.
Well, 6 minutes in, and you're 2-0 down. 6 minutes in, and you're 2-0 down.
Exactly. And how you convert 60-odd thousand people who've come to say, "We love you, we want you to conquer all," into people who are booing, that's actually quite a kind of like, how the hell did you manage that? And that's what we're doing.
Well, you look at the whole thing. It just they apart from 20-25 minutes in the second half, they stank the place out. Frankly,
Correct.
now and I know Chris quite rightly sort of like is putting some of the scrutiny on the manager, which I think is absolutely fair. I think is fair. I still think if you look at again, I know the people say we shouldn't be looking back, but you have to look back because 2/3, probably 75 to 80% of this squad was the squad from last season, and look how well they did there.
More.
Yeah, because you got Xavi. Tell was there anyway, so you can't count him. You've got Xavi is new, and oh god, just Xavi was new. Do you know? It's they fucked my brain so much I can't even recall now.
Don't ask me. Don't ask me. I started supporting Villa last week.
But we have 2 or 3 players more, yeah, who are new, who weren't there last season. The rest are still the same jerks.
Yeah,
and yet we still expect things to be different.
And don't forget as well. And you know, it sounds like a cheap line, but if we don't factor in history, then we might invade Russia in the winter. There are certain things that you can't lose sight of.
Well, the phrase is, if those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it.
Correct, absolutely correct. And on that bombshell, on that wise note, that fridge magnet of a contribution. Listen, we hope you've enjoyed the show. About 50% of you, in fact, a bit more than 50% of you subscribe. The rest of you don't, which is fine, but it means you're unlikely to automatically have the next show pop up. So hit subscribe, and it'll make life easier for all of us. That's it for now. Good luck, and don't forget, kids, keep it Tottenham.